Good morning. I'd like to convene the 4th Osage Nation Congress. We're in our 7th special session. Today is July 16th, 2015. It's 10:03 a.m. and we're on day 4 on our agenda. First item on the agenda is prayer. Congressman Hamilton, would you please lead us in a word of prayer this morning?
In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Father, we come to get this time to be in our heart and our minds as we come together for those Osage people, Lord. Please be with the families represented here, the families listening over, and please be with the families that have lost a loved one as we go through that process of putting their loved one away. Please be with our families, with the men and women in uniform. All these things I ask in your precious name, Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Congressman Hamilton. Next item on the agenda is roll call. Madam Clerk, would you please call roll?
Congresswoman Bucklehead.
Present.
Congresswoman Edwards.
Present.
Congressman Hamilton.
Present.
Congressman Yett.
Here.
Congressman Maker.
Here.
Congressman Mason.
Present.
Congresswoman Pratt. Present. Congressman Norris.
Here.
Congressman Shaw.
Here.
Congressman Supernaw.
Here.
Congressman Walker.
Here.
Speaker Whitehorn.
Here.
Assistant Chief Redcorn.
Present.
We have a quorum. Next item on the agenda is approval of the journal. Congresswoman Edwards.
Page 5, under motions and notices, my motion to modify that should say government budgets, not government operations. Or maybe it said operating budgets. I think that's what it said, operating budgets. Or operations budgets. It's missing the word budgets.
Duly noted.
Thank you. Move to approve the journal as amended for 3rd Legislative Day, July 15th, 2015.
The motion and a second. All in favor say yes.
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 Any opposed? Seeing none, the journal is approved. If Congress will indulge me a minute, I have just gotten some very good news from the American Heart Association that our body has become winners of a Chiefs Challenge that helps Native American communities manage blood pressure. It's my understanding some members of Congress participated in this, and they would like to present us an award for that. And so I'm going to ask Rachel Crawford to come and let us know what this is that our members have participated in right quick, if it pleases Congress. Would you please take the podium here, Ms. Crawford? We're happy to see you. And
yes. Well, thank you for having me today. As you all know, some of you all signed up to participate in our blood pressure management program in January of this year, and we had 8 tribes with leaders participate in that same program, and you all had a tribe that represented, I think it was at least 5 leaders who participated. And as a result of your active participation and the great work that's being done with your community health programs, you all received 3rd place, and we will be awarding you all a $500 check for your education department for a scholarship that you all may use in the upcoming year. So we're really grateful for your participation. We hope that you all will continue doing the great work that you're doing in the community, and we hope that you'll participate again next year. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. I also have a press release that their agency has put out. I will make sure that Barbara CCs you guys on that, so you'll be able to be informed about it. Next item on the agenda is reports of select committees. Are there any select committees to report? Congresswoman Pratt. Excuse me?
Can you on this one for you? Great, never mind.
Okay. I don't think we have reports from select committees today. I'm looking for some ingress legislation. We don't have it. Next item on the agenda is reports of standing committees. Are there any standing committees to report? Congressman Shaw.
One moment.
Our brains are...
Thank you, Madam Speaker, members of Congress. The Health and Social Service Committee met yesterday and discussed ONCA 1569. The title was an act to amend ONCA 1476 to provide a supplemental appropriation to the Health and Wellness Division for fiscal year 2015 in the amount of $49,470 and to establish an alternate effective date. That was a committee substitute presented. And the final committee action was due pass as a committee substitute. 6 yes votes: Shaw, Norris, Yett, Pratt, Mason, and Walker.
Thank you.
There's one more.
Do you have a copy of 1570, Congressman?
No, I'm looking it up, but I'd love to have a copy if there's one available. Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it. The committee also discussed ONCA 1570, an act to amend ONCA 1470 to provide a supplemental appropriation to the Division of Child, Family, and Senior Community Services for fiscal year 2015 in the amount of $133,679 to change the division composition by including the domestic violence department to establish an alternate effective date. The final committee action was no recommendations. The vote was 6 yes. Voting yes were Shaw, Norris, Yett, Pratt, Mason, and Walker.
Thank you, Congressman. Congresswoman Edwards.
Move to suspend the rules, modify the agenda, and place ONCA 1569 and ONCA 1570 on general order day 2.
Second.
A motion and a second. Is there discussion? Is it on today's agenda? Is that what the
Yes.
motion was?
Yes.
Congressman Shaw?
My colleague was quicker on the draw than me. I'd just like to express my intent was to withdraw 1570.
You can do so right now.
Well, we've got a motion on the
Oh,
floor.
excuse me.
It can still advance.
Okay,
I'll hold my motion or withdraw.
Until after the vote?
Until after the vote.
perfect. All in favor of the motion, say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? Seeing none, those will be placed on today's agenda on General Order Day 2. Congressman Shaw.
Madam Speaker, I'd like to withdraw ONCA 1570. This was discussed yesterday in the Health and Social Services Committee, and because of logistical and legal considerations and in agreement with the executive branch, I would agree to withdraw that bill.
Congresswoman Edwards.
Point of order, this is the chief's call, and I think the special session law says to vote everything up or down. Otherwise, any of us could withdraw.
I believe that you can withdraw it.
So any of us can withdraw any of the legislation that the chief puts on the calendar?
Do we want to hear from
We don't like?
Let's hear from our legal counsel on that, because I'm not the attorney. Mr. Gill, would you please answer that question for us?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My name is Congress Assistant Chief. I would suggest that we do it by motion. The special session law requires that everything that's on the proclamation go to an action of the body. If we do it by motion, that is an action of the body on the bill. We would be taking a vote of the entire body to remove that bill from the proclamation, not from the proclamation, but from consideration of the body.
And that's how we've handled it in the past, too. Thank you, Congressman. Trey. Yes.
So to clarify, the sponsor of the legislation can withdraw, or can move to withdraw their legislation, even though the chief put it on the call without their knowledge. You can say, I want to withdraw my legislation?
Yes, yes, you can. And the rules have changed recently to allow a sponsor to withdraw legislation without being done by motion, and then allow another person to put their name on it as sponsor, or the speaker would then declare it withdrawn. But like I said, in this instance, I certainly recommend that we do it by motion so that we're in compliance with the special session law that requires an action of the body on the legislation. And on this particular piece of legislation, I don't think there's going to be any issue with the executive, because everybody was under the full understanding in yesterday's committee meeting that this piece of legislation, although submitted by the executive, upon further consideration, they realize that it needs to be withdrawn, and they're going to reconsider that domestic violence program in the fall session.
Thank you, Counselor.
Okay, I'll wait for his motion then.
Madam Speaker, let me withdraw my previous statement and restate it. I'd like to make a motion that the Congress allow the withdrawal of ONCA 1570 from consideration on the congressional agenda.
Second.
Motion and second. We're now in discussion. Congresswoman Edwards.
Could the sponsor, who's also the chair, read the committee report so we understand why the legislation is being withdrawn? Or if it's not in the committee report?
It's not in the committee report. It was an understanding reached at the time. I don't believe there was any intent attached to the it was no recommendation. That's how it was sent out, reported out.
But there's a reason why.
Yes,
So-
I'd love to
Tell us.
articulate that.
Okay.
The domestic violence program, as you know, currently under the Health and Wellness Division, provides shelter services as well as counseling services for victims of domestic violence, and also for women who have difficulty with custody issues. The Division of Social Services has a major child advocacy role, and frequently mothers who have lost at least temporary custody of their children are evaluated, counseled, and the domestic violence program staff in part reports out whether they've met all the recommendations of the court, and actually renders opinion as to whether or not they are suitable to retain custody or not to have custody. And it was thought that having both of those programs and roles within the same division would create a conflict. And a very brief telephone call to the Attorney General by Assistant Chief confirmed that that was an issue sufficient to where the bill should be withdrawn.
Congresswoman Edwards.
So had they just not thought of that before, or they just realized it, or?
What was said in the committee meeting by the director or the manager, I'm not sure what the term is, of the Social Services Division, is that was mentioned to the Director of Operations.
All in favor of the motion, say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? Seeing none, ONCA 1570 is withdrawn. Are there any more reports of standing committees? I think I have commerce reports and governmental operations. Congressman Supernaw.
Mr. Speaker, members, Commerce and Economic Development Committee met yesterday in a regular committee meeting to consider 19 ONCA 1555, an act to amend 19 ONC Section 2-104 of the Osage Fair Minimum Wage Act to remove the exemption for Osage Nation Gaming Enterprises and to establish an alternate effective date. The result was reported to Congress with a do not pass recommendation with yes votes from Supernaw, Yeck, Pratt, Whitehorn, Buffalo Head, and Walker. Then, in an emergency session for Commerce and Economic Development, we considered ONCA 1547, an act to amend ONCA 1519, the law establishing the Osage Commercial Property Fund to authorize the expenditures out of the fund to provide for net revenue to be appropriated to the general fund or for a specific purpose, and to establish an alternate effective date. So, the recommendation to the Congress do pass as a community substitute with amendments of yes votes from Supernaw, Yeck, Pratt, Whitehorn, Buffalo Head, and Walker.
Thank you, Congressman Supernaw. Congresswoman Edwards.
Move to suspend the rules, modify today's agenda and place ONCA 1555 and ONCA 1547 on General Order Day 2.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
That's been accomplished to that. Are there any more reports? Congressman Walker.
Morning, Speaker, members of Congress. Governmental Operations met yesterday and considered Bill number ONCA 1563, an act to amend the Open Meetings Act 15 ONC Section 7-105 and Section 7-108 to remove the requirements of items listed on the agenda be described with specificity to allow agendas to be amended inside 48 hours and to establish an alternate effective date. Congressman Supernaw is the sponsor. Committee action is no recommendation, committee substitute. Voting yes, Buffalo, Pratt, and Supernaw. Voting no, Walker and Shaw. Committee also considered bill number ONCA 1566. It's an act to amend ONCA 14-77 to provide a supplemental appropriation to the Division of Land, Commerce, and Public Safety for fiscal year 2015 in the amount of $69,943 and to establish an alternate effective date. The sponsor is Congresswoman Buffalo Head. Committee actions do pass. Voting yes, Walker, Buffalo Head, Shaw, Pratt, and Supernaw.
Thank you, Congressman. Congresswoman Edwards.
Move to suspend the rules, modify today's agenda and place ONCA 1563, ONCA 1566, and what was the last one?
1566 and 1563 would
Oh,
be
not both. On general order day 2 on today's agenda.
Second.
The motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Okay, so those are all going to be on general order day 2 and amendments can be proposed. Right now, we're on bills and resolutions on general order. General order day 1, legislation is read in on second reading by the sponsor. First one would be, who's that? 1561.
Maker.
Maker, thank you. Congressman Maker?
Yes, Madam Speaker. Members of Congress, reading in ONCA 15-61, an act to amend ONCR 14-08 to allow board and commission travel reimbursement allocations to be available to the board as a whole and to provide an alternate effective date.
Thank you, Congressman. Congresswoman Buffalo.
Bill number ONCA 1564 to provide a supplemental appropriation to the Office of the Attorney General for fiscal year 2015 in the amount of $100,000 for Osage LLC litigation expenses and to establish an alternate effective date. Bill number ONCA 1565, an act to amend ONCA 1467 to provide a supplemental appropriation to the Osage Utility Authority Board for fiscal year 2015 in the amount of $47,900 and to establish an alternate effective date.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Okay, we are now on general. Congresswoman Edwards.
Thank you. Move to suspend the rules, modify today's agenda, and place ONCA 1561, ONCA 1564, and ONCA 1565 on general order day 2.
Second.
The motion and a second. Is there any discussion to the motion? All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Okay, those are all going to be on today's agenda. General order day 2 and amendments may be proposed. Is there any necessity for a brief recess for any members of Congress to formulate amendments since those have been moved there in the past 5 minutes? Congresswoman Buckler.
I would like 2 minutes to look at everything that's been, I don't have any amendments right now, but I want to read through real quick to
So
see
moved.
if I do.
Second.
Okay, so any discussion to that? All in favor say yes.
Yes.
We are in a 10-minute recess then.